Yeah, for us, it's a handful this year. You're always cramming for the first game, but there's a little bit more paperwork and things that come with getting ready for the first trip. I mean, 2 buses instead of 1 bus, and seating assignments and things like that. To be honest with you, though, it's just a lot of busy work. It's not that much of a challenge. The guys have been very cooperative with us relating to COVID protocols and things we've asked them to do. As of right now, we do not have anyone in quarantine, knock on all kinds of wood. The thing that's been a challenge is to get on the field and get as many reps as possible, so we feel prepared going into game 1. And to be honest with you, I think we've done that. We feel good about tomorrow being kind of a review day. And then, of course, Thursday's practice will be at Georgia Southern. And then Friday, now afternoon, I believe, it's not official, but there's a good chance those guys want to move that game up to a little bit warmer temperatures. So whether it's 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6:30, I feel like our guys are ready to go Friday, and hopefully the numbers back that up, or the performance does.
All right, we'll start with questions. We'll start with Rick Russo, and then we'll go to Mike Wilson after that.
Hey, Tony, I'll be that guy. Is there a chance that you could turn your phone or your device the long way?
Yeah, I couldn't get on my computer for whatever reason. It wasn't cooperating. So is that all right?
Actually, you're sideways now.
Okay.
I think you have to, on your phone, have to set it up like to be able to like let your screen like side.
And if not, no worries, Tony. We can live with it for sure.
Yeah.
There you go. That looks better.
Yeah, that's better.
Perfect. Thanks, Coach. All right. So, Tony, getting ready to start the season. I know you guys are anxious to play and get out there, especially given what happened last season. Has this been the most challenging year for you in coaching, you would say?
I would say our first year here, honestly, was a little bit more challenging. Just so many things going so fast, and getting acclimated. We hadn't hired a strength coach until October. So fortunately, we went through that rough experience. Maybe that adversity prepared us for this, but I would say it's just more different. Everyone keeps bringing up the word normal when we go back to normal and all that good stuff. I just think it's been very unique. And the bottom line is, if you look at our sport and at least our program, we have not had any interference. We have not stopped practice one time. I know there's teams in our league that had to call timeout, basically. So now, while I hate seeing our kids get sick, because we have some guys have had COVID, and not just that, but struggle with it a little bit. So it is something to take serious. We've been pretty blessed. I mean, with the weather and being out there and getting as many repetitions as we have, I do think these freshmen are further behind than the normal freshman class, but it's just been more different, if that's the best way to say it.
Yeah, Tony, how has Jackson Leath progressed from him being sidelined in the fall, and what do you kind of expect for his role early in the season?
Yeah, I'll exit this media conversation and walk down to the bullpen and watch him face some more hitters, so that he's ready to go on Friday. And he looks sharp. I know he's never happy to not be out there, but you try and balance out, when a guy is prepared to actually face live hitters and when he's not. And really the tonsils thing, and then a quarantine episode, threw us for a loop a little bit, but he looks sharp. I think the good thing about him is he's in a better place mentally. He's more comfortable with the league and his surroundings and the competition and all that good stuff, our routines here. But physically, he's going to continue to get better as the year goes on, and we'll probably start stacking more and more innings in his favor as he gets out there a little more frequently.
Do you have a feel for which direction you want to go this weekend with your rotation, and how does Blade Tidwell factor into everything?
Yeah, close to, and I think it's safe to say Blade's going to start a game. We just haven't decided on which particular day. And, we're not really trying to play poker or anything like that. I told Georgia Southern's coaching staff we'd get to them by the end of the day. We just wanted to see how a few guys felt after this weekend, because last weekend we did have some competitive scrimmages and tried to stretch out innings pitched a little bit. So we have somewhat of an idea, but I'll kind of leave it up to our final conversations with the pitchers, and then, Frank and I will get together and figure out what that is. But I think Blade's a front runner to start one of the 3 days.
All right, we'll go to Jordan Kramer next, followed by Ben McKee.
Tony, you said the freshmen are behind. Kind of in what ways do you see them maybe behind in development as opposed to freshmen at this point in past seasons?
Yeah, I think they were robbed of their senior year, even in the warm weather states, or even some of the more rebellious states. I know that's, I'm kind of saying that half tongue in cheek, but, most of them did not get the innings or at bats that you would get in your senior year. Summer was kind of a hodgepodge mix for those guys. And I really do like when our incoming class comes to campus in the summer and gets more familiar with Coach Q and, knocks out a couple classes and then more familiar with academics. And the world was just moving very fast for those guys. And almost every one of them either contracted the virus or because of contact tracing had to go into quarantine at some point in their first semester of finally being on this campus. And so that interrupted, how many at-bats you're getting, how many innings pitched. I mean, some of those guys had to restart their throwing program. So with me rambling on and on, you can see all these hurdles. And probably the biggest one was having a face mask on and us not sitting around and having team meetings or conversations where they get to know each other. It wasn't until really the end of the first semester the guys started doing some fun stuff together and building a little bit of team chemistry. And now I think we're pretty close to where we need to be. But if anyone's lagging, it's kind of those guys that have been stuck in the dorms and are still trying to make their way a little bit.
Coach, Joel Ortega and Jason Rackers were guys that you were hoping to count on last year, but injuries kind of got in the way of that. Seems like almost a trade deadline pickup for this season, as they would call it in the major leagues. What do you think those guys will bring to the team this year?
Yeah, I think, depth is not even the right word, because those are guys who, on a Friday night against, I believe Georgia is the first SEC opponent. When we go back down to the state of Georgia, I could very easily see Jarrell on the starting 9 somewhere, and I could see Jason Rackers starting one of those games down there. Both those guys are in the hunt to do that. I don't think Jarrell will start all 3 games this weekend, and I don't know that Rack will start a game against Georgia Southern, but those are the type of players they are. And both of them certainly have the right presence out there too. It's different for each. Jason is incredibly composed. He almost kind of has a little bit of Sean Hunley vibe to him, and he's very athletic for how big he is. And then Jarrell Ortega is just a guy that loves to play. He bounces around, talks a lot, very enthusiastic, very confident body language. And I think he's got a real feel for how to hit. And on top of that, he's a high school shortstop that can play anywhere on the infield. So I like your thought process. Good job by whatever GM or manager signed those 2 guys as a late add-on.
All right, we'll go to Ryan Shumpert next, and then Gustavo after that.
Coach, I think you said this fall that you felt like you had 3 or more guys that could play in the majors in the outfield. Has there been any separation there in the first couple of weeks of practice, and what do you think the lineup could look like this weekend?
Yeah, I think there has not been separation, which is frustrating for this guy, because we got to decide who the 9 guys are on Friday. And I'm going to have a conversation with the whole team and just remind them that the starting 9 on Friday is probably not going to be the starting 9 in May. It's just usually the way it works out. So some guys are going to need to be understanding and patient and supportive of their teammates. And then the guys that are out there, that it's almost like a hockey shift. Is how we talked about it last year. There's no reason to save yourself, because we're going to use more than 10 or 11 position players. So while you're out there, you certainly don't need to be out of control or running around like a maniac, but, give your all for Tennessee, literally, and leave no doubt about it on the field. And then there'll be plenty of days or times where you're in the dugout resting and wishing you were out there. So that's just the way we're going to have to handle it. And it is a very talented outfield. And a couple guys like Christian Scott and Evan Russell are guys that are swinging it as well as anybody. I think Jordan Beck would have broke, if we had anything tracking exit velo the other day, he might have broke the dang thing. And then Drew Gilbert probably one-upped him with a ball he hit off the right field wall. He only got a single out of it because it was hit so hard. So a fun group out there.
Gustavo?
Coach, how, as you wrap up this preseason preparation, how do you evaluate, the way you guys prepare for the season, and how to keep the anxiety from playing? The last day you guys played was like 346 days ago. So how to keep the anxiety? I feel like your players want to play like as soon as possible.
Yeah, I bumped into several guys in the parking lot, on scrimmage day, and we try and call that game day around here, which you need to treat it like that, but you have to be honest with yourself. It's not the same. And, we'd all say game day in the parking lot and wish we were playing another opponent. So that's been underlying, but I don't think it's kind of grabbed their attention to the point where they haven't come to the park focused. And that's impressive, because usually in the fall, especially now that we can play outside opponents in the fall during non-COVID times, they look forward to those games, and then we play, and then we go back to scrimmaging, and we may not have their full focus because it's like, well, these guys are wearing orange as well. So the maturity of the roster has kind of shined through with that, and kind of push back those anxious feelings to play an opponent and just focus on what we got to do. Because I've got a list here on my desk. There's going to be 2 or 3 things meeting wise, or just little things I want to knock out that we won't get to before this weekend. And that's fine. The non-conference schedule is incredibly crucial to have a great season, but also it is a build-up period towards conference season, which is, in our league in particular, where you make your money.
All right, we'll go to Josh Lane with the Daily Beacon.
Coach, tell me a little bit about Max Ferguson. Obviously, he's coming into the year with all sorts of preseason awards and accolades, but what do you expect from him as far as production and leadership this year?
His leadership comes in the form of he's got an edge to him on the field. I mean, almost to the point where I remember freshman year, he and I, if it was a crucial part of the game, he's never been disrespectful to me, but he's almost kind of bowed up, like, no, this is what I saw, or this is what I think we need to do. And ultimately that's the good type of debating you have in a winning dugout. You have players that are confident in what they think they need to do and our team needs to do to win. And he's got that edge to him, had it even at that age. So he certainly does now. So while I don't think you'll see him really direct in traffic or look like a Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, I think if you're on the field level and you're listening and you're seeing the way he's competing, that's how it'll come about. And while he has gotten some accolades and his skill set has improved, I think for a guy like Max, and a cautionary tale to other players like this too, he needs to stay true to his roots, because how he became a guy that is someone you're asking questions about is that edge to him. And, again, you'll see some speed on the bases, and now he's a lot stronger. Coach Q always calls him little guy. He's not a little guy anymore. He's got a little more pop in that bat. But ultimately what works for him is he plays with an edge and a winning spirit that is pretty close at the top on our roster.
All right, we'll go back to Mike.
Yeah, Tony, how do you feel about the left side of the infield with Liam and Jake? And is the top of the order at this point with guys like Jake, Liam, and Max, is that more of what you've always wanted to be able to stack at the top of a lineup?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of nice. Those are 3 positions where Frank and I in particular, and I'm sure Josh would be on board with this, even though he coaches third base, we want defense. So to have the luxury of guys playing those crucial, hands team type positions on defense, capable of hitting anywhere in the order, it's a luxury. And on top of it, there's guys stacked behind each one of those spots, whether it be Jarrell, Trey Lipscomb, or Logan Steenstra. They're fully capable as well, doing it with the glove and the bat. So there'll be some interchangeable parts there. Those are the 3 main guys for now. They'll probably be the starters on Friday. We haven't settled on a lineup, but the nice thing about Fergie and Liam is they can really run. And then Rucker, if you put him anywhere in the lineup, the one thing is he's not going to overthink it, and he's not going to get nervous. He's going to go out there and compete regardless. So again, that is a luxury as well. If we want to stuff him at the bottom or put him higher than he's used to, or stick him right in the middle like he was last year, I don't think it really changes his mindset. And that sounds like a simple thing, but I would kill to coach kids like that every year.
All right, we got time for a few more of Coach, so we'll go to Rick and then back to Ben. You good, Rick? Okay, Ben, go ahead.
Coach, at catcher, I know you've got plenty of options, but it definitely seems like Pav has separated himself from the rest. Where have you seen him grow the most from his freshman season to now? And also, what are you looking at that backup catcher position?
That's hard to say on Pav because he's well-rounded. I mean, we were teasing today about how much time he puts into recovery, call it body care if you want, or, anything that has to do with making sure his body feels 100% day in and day out, which at that position, it's almost, we mentioned hockey. It's almost like you are a hockey player. So it's a challenge. But he has attacked every area, whether it's sleep, nutrition. I mean, he's always barking at me about how good a sleep he got, or if it wasn't good, his recovery score and all that stuff. He no longer is a guy with a big arm that's a solid defender. He has a big arm, knows how to use it, has become a much improved defender with Josh's help behind the plate. And now he's a real threat at the plate. You always got competitive at-bats out of Pav. But now he's got a lot of capability of doing some damage as well. So it's hard to say one area with that guy, and it's a compliment to his work ethic. And then as far as what's behind him, you're not losing any energy or interest in being a good baseball player with those three guys. I can't say that about every other position like that, but those are three grinders behind Pav that all need to play for us. And if Pete's going to catch, which he's capable of playing, being at other positions, he's got a left-handed bat. He can pinch hit. He can certainly compete for the, number 2 spot. But Jackson Greer is our number 2 as of now. He's got a ton of experience. I think he's really good in games because he knows how to handle pressure as well with his experience. Always going to get energy out of him. And then Charlie Taylor's a freshman that is going to be the lone returner at that position. So he needs innings just for the future of the program, but he's also earned innings because his teammates love him. And he really does everything the right way at the park every day.
All right, we'll finish up with Jordan and then Ryan.
Tony, I know you said you tried to treat scrimmages like they were game day, but has there been just a different buzz in the clubhouse this week leading into the season, particularly after everything you guys have dealt with in the last year?
Yeah, unfortunately for me, I got to meet with the guys who are not traveling or get with guys and make sure they have a clear mindset on what their role is. And sometimes you feel like you're knocking down guys' spirits. And as a player who was consistently the underdog or left out of things like that, it's not as fun. Having said that, what's going on down on the floor underneath me is a lot more banter in the locker room, getting the final pieces of gear. And of course, they love that stuff. Warming up, whatever this bus game is they play, just little things like that they can sense it. And like I said, the one thing I've appreciated is it hasn't gotten to the point where it's giddy, and it hasn't gotten to the point where it's a distraction for what we're trying to do on the field. We haven't had any days like that. We've had a couple things where behaviors needed to be corrected, but I'm surprised now that you're asking the question that has not been an issue. But there's a different buzz. I think they're smelling it a little bit.
With no pitchers back that have started SEC games, do you think we could see more kind of changes throughout the season in the weekend rotation, more than we have, I guess, in the past, less set in stone?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, when you're doing the recruiting stuff, you don't get to coach all the players you recruited, but I'll leave it unnamed. One of my favorite pitching staffs was one where the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Tuesday guys stayed that way the whole year. And it was just the perfect combination of guys and experience. And that was a team that went to Omaha, and they had 4 quality starters. I think we've got 7 or 8 quality starting candidates, even in this league. I'm talking about on the weekend, not just that 4th spot or something like that. So, it's interesting. You'd ideally like it to be like that, but I also kind of like the fact it's going to be very competitive, and there may be some mixing and matching, or a guy, best another guy one week, and there's some changing going on. And while the big league approach of having those 4 set guys, would be fun, organized, you guys would know what we're getting. This is college baseball, and every win is incredibly valuable, especially when you talk COVID times. You never know when someone's going to cancel a series or not show up, or, anything like that. So this is more of a sprint, if you will. And so we'll use whatever combinations we have to gobble up as many wins as possible.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time. We'll have players next.
Thank you all.